Hello family, and welcome to my first YouTube video. It feels so good to finally say that because I've been wanting to start this channel for a while. But as you can tell, obviously by the title, we're doing a marriage Q&A. And I obviously can't do a marriage Q&A without the person that I'm married to.
Hey guys, I'm Chavis. I am the husband.
Yes,
so
he is.
I'm excited as well.
So yeah, I actually got some questions on Instagram. So we're just gonna go through and answer them, and we'll get right into the video. Okay. So the first question we will start with is, how did you all meet?
I gotta go first.
I'm gonna let you go first. I want to see what you're gonna say.
Well, I'm going all the way back.
Okay,
to
go all the way
school.
back.
You don't remember this, but I remember meeting you in high school.
Okay.
All right. So we met through our mutual friend, Lavation. Who's still our mutual friend.
Yes.
One day after I got done playing basketball, went to her house. I stopped by her house because her house is at the beginning of the neighborhood. So on the way home, I stopped by her house, and Jasmine was over there. And she swear up and down that she don't remember this, but I remember we was all sitting in the living room, and I was sitting directly across from her. We really didn't speak, but that was like the first time that I had been in the same room as Jasmine. And then I saw her a few times at the lunch table in high school. She don't remember that either. She wasn't paying no attention to me.
I do not remember this at all.
She wasn't paying any attention to me. But I noticed her a few times in high school. She knew who I was though. But
I'll let you tell your side.
But after that, her and Innovation set us up. She swears she didn't have nothing to do with it, but so after high school, I joined the military, and then I ended up coming home after a few years, and it was pretty much a setup. They were in cahoots. We went to Top Golf. I was invited to Top Golf by Elevation, and I didn't know that Jasmine was gonna be there, right? And then I show up, and then all of a sudden, she's there, and Elevation had already kind of been, in both of our ears about each other. So yeah, we ended up meeting up there, and that was kind of the night that started everything, that kind of sparked everything. So that's my story.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell my story.
That's the real story.
So my story, we knew who each other was in high school. Obviously you knew who I was. So I knew about him just because of our mutual friend. But we did not talk at all. We weren't even friends. Like, I was not studying him for real. I don't remember seeing him in a room. I just knew of him because of our mutual friend. So I was not in cahoots. I did not set it up, but we all went to Top Golf. It was us and some other friends. And I didn't know. Well, I think I did know. I knew that she invited you.
Okay, I was about to say, so you didn't know I was going to be there.
This is my story. This is my side.
All right, okay.
I knew that he was coming, but I wasn't thinking anything of it. I had never thought, oh, I want to date him. He was just my mutual friend's friend. So, yeah, it really started like we knew of each other in high school, but we really met and talked to each other when we went to Top Golf that night. And then from then on, it was just, the rest is history, right?
Yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah, and here we are.
A
few years later.
Yeah, she fell in love with me then.
Okay.
We'll get to that part.
Okay, yeah. Question number 2, how long have you been together? So we have been together that night at Top Golf, or when we actually started dating a few months after that. Let me rewind. So when we went to Top Golf, he went back to where he was living at the time, and we were just talking long distance. So it took us about 2 months to actually have our first date. But that was back in 2017, and now it's 2022. So what is that, 5 years?
5 years.
5 years. So we've been together for 5 years, and then someone else asked, how long have you been married? We've been married for almost 4 years, legally married for almost 4 years in February, but we had our wedding 3 years ago. So quick story, we got married 9 months before we actually had our wedding. And a lot of people didn't even know that we were married. We was just married. I had moved to another state with him already way before the wedding, and a lot of people didn't even know. And my last name was already changed before the wedding. We were like locked in.
We got married in my brother's living room.
Yeah.
So that's actually where we got married.
Where we really got married, yeah. Well, transition to this question. It says, how was adjusting with leaving Atlanta? So once we got engaged, once we got married, I left the Atlanta area, and moved to North Carolina because that's where he was stationed at the time. How was the transition? It was actually really rough. For me, mentally, it was just hard. Like, we were okay. It was fine moving in it with him. We didn't really have like any issues, but it was rough just like leaving family because I'm close with my family. It was rough leaving friends. And then I moved from like a bigger city, a bigger place, to a small town. So there wasn't any, or still not, anything really here. Like my hairstylist, nails, I was just like, I left everything. So it was hard, but I do like encourage you getting out of your hometown because I feel like it allows you to grow. Like you can grow through it. So I'm glad that I did move, but during that time, I had some rough patches because it was like, okay, I just left everything I knew, picked up and left and moved to somewhere where I only knew him to begin with. Yeah. And just not having people to go out with and friends was kind of hard.
And she actually did not realize how rough it was going to be until she got here. And then started to realize, wait, I usually do this and I don't have it anymore. Yeah. I usually go to this type of person and I don't have it anymore. And she started noticing more and more things that she didn't have anymore. And then I was noticing like, wow, okay, she actually made a huge commitment by following me here. And I mean, that just kind of stuck to me because I realized like she actually did leave everything that she knew behind, to follow me. So it was definitely a rough adjustment period for sure.
Yeah. It made it better because we were good like during that time. So at least I had him, but still it was like, dang, I don't really got nothing. Like I picked up my whole life. I left it all. But yeah, it was rough, but it was worth it. You kind of grow, you do grow when you move out of your hometown. Okay, so next question. Who said I love you first? He did. He did, because baby, one thing about it, I ain't gonna say I love you first. I might have texted him first. Maybe we'll talk about that story.
Yeah, let's talk
about
that story.
Okay.
Let's talk about that story.
Tell your side.
So earlier we talked about Topgolf, right?
That's where we met that night.
Right? And we went to a lot of places that night, and we could like feel the connection between one another. Like
as the night progressed.
As the night progressed, we were making eye contact. That's how it works anyway. Eye contact. That's what gentlemen. That's what works. But anyway, we was making the eye contact, and we could just feel the connection, right? But the next day, so I was gonna text her eventually. I was gonna get around to texting her, but during that time in my life, I really wasn't like trying to get right back into a relationship. I was just like, man, you know what? I'm just gonna wait until the person God sends me. I'm just tired of, pursuing relationships out of my own desire. I'm just gonna wait and see what God sends me. So at that time, I really wasn't like actively seeking a relationship. But the very next day, I get a text from a number that I'd never seen before, right? And all it was eye emojis, the side eye emojis. And I was like, who is this? And then, wait, did I already have your number?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have your number.
Well,
I don't think I had your number. And then I was like, hey, I think I said, hey, or something like that. But that was her very first text with me. I had never texted her. We barely even really talked that night before. And then her very first text to me was the side eye emoji.
Okay,
so I was like, this girl.
I'm gonna tell, don't do that. I'm gonna tell my side because I never, ever, ever text first. This was the first time, obviously it worked, first of all, but this was the first time that I ever did that. And I only did it because my friend was in my ear that whole night. So I'm like, okay, he want me. He want to talk to me. So I don't got nothing to lose, you know. I'm like, okay, if he want me, he do. If not, then so be it. So I texted him, but I sent him the eyes because even though we like didn't really know each other, I felt like we already really knew each other. So it wasn't like, to me, it wasn't like I was texting somebody random. So I felt like there was already a connection, even though there were barely words said. So I felt comfortable already.
Right.
Yeah.
I felt, the reason why it really struck me is because, I mean, the whole time, I always thought that she was out of my league, right? I always thought that, because she had been to college, she was educated. I'm just low down, dirty Marine, right? I chose the military instead of going to college, and I mean, I always thought she was just like advanced, right? She was beautiful, out of my league. I'm like, and then she texts me. I'm like, what? So it kind of like, it's like, dang, okay, I got a chance. That kind of just it struck me. I was like, dang, okay, she want me.
No.
She want me.
Well, I did,
okay.
But
okay.
I knew that he was gonna text me anyway, so I was like, okay, let me help him out a little bit because of what I was hearing.
Okay.
I knew that she was gonna text me anyway. So that's that story. I don't even know what was the question. Oh, who said I love you first? So yeah, I might text first.
You went off on a rant.
We did go off on a rant. I might text first.
I said I love you first.
Yeah,
I did.
He did.
I said that first.
Absolutely. Okay. How do you navigate moments of conflict?
Well, I mean, now or before? That's because it's important to kind of to talk about that, because before, I mean, we both had different approaches to conflict. Like, her approach was, I don't want to talk about it. Leave me alone. We'll sleep on it and we'll be better tomorrow. My approach is, let's talk about it right now. Let's get this out the way, because I hate, waiting and sitting on it. It just, it's something like I cannot stand like being in a state of conflict, right? So I want to talk about it now. I want to get it out of the way now. I want to be better right now. But her, she's like, I don't want to talk to you right now. I don't want to do it right now.
Yeah, and that's why he said like before or now, because I'm getting better at just talking as soon as something happens.
Right.
Or, whenever there's something that we need to talk about. Because before, I'm shutting down. I'll talk to you when I want to talk to you, not right now. And he's like, no, we gonna solve this right now. Like, he's like a quick get to it. And I'm like, I just don't want to see you. So.
Yeah. But now, now
is,
I think, as far as I'm not bragging or anything, but we rarely experience conflict like that anymore. But when we do, it's like, I think we've gotten to a place where we can communicate so well now. We can just kind of like immediately like, okay, I didn't like that, or this is the problem, and we can talk about it and we can kind of like just deal with it up front. So we're just better at communication now, so that kind of helps us navigate conflict. And also from my perspective, like from a man's perspective, as far as conflict, a lot of times now, if there's something that I feel like needs to really be addressed, I will wait, right? I'll wait and I'll pray on how to approach my wife with it. Because a lot of times we can react, right? We can react just out of emotion, right? And men don't like to admit that we're emotional, but when we react, that's being emotional. When we react out of anger, that's being emotional. So I just kind of wait, and then I figure out my approach, because I know if I react the wrong way, she gonna react the wrong way, and we already know how that goes. So I kind of wait, react, and I figure out my approach, and then I'll bring it to her when the timing is right. Just because you just gotta be careful with how you address the situation, especially when there's already conflict and she's already feeling some type of way and I'm already feeling some type of way. You just gotta react in a way, because ultimately you want to get on the other side of it, right? You don't want to just get your point across. You want to make your relationship better. You want to get on the other side of it. So, once you come to the conclusion, like, I want to make this better, I want this to be fixed so we can enjoy our marriage, then you'll think about your approach better. So I know I just kind of went out.
It's okay to
But
preach to
still,
him.
I mean, that's how I navigate
Yeah.
conflict now.
I think because when he said like we don't have a lot of huge conflicts, and it is, even though it sounds cliche, it really is the communication. Because when you can openly communicate with anything, and especially at the moment that it happens, you kind of avoid a bunch of mess, a bunch of conflict. So communication is key. That's how you resolve conflict. You talk about it. Because if you don't, it kind of, each person will start assuming things if you don't communicate, you know, how you feel to get a better understanding of where the other person is coming from. Did submission come naturally? I feel lost in how to occupy that space with my BF. So submission, the topic that people like to talk about it, but a lot of people don't agree with submission. And I think that they misunderstand what submission really is.
Right.
And I think most people, they assume that submission is just being walked over, being trampled over, you know, you just bowing down to your husband and he's just doing whatever and you just following suit. I don't agree with that. I agree with submission, but I don't agree with the common definition of what submission is.
Yeah. What's your definition of submission?
What's my definition?
Because people don't really ask themselves that question. What's my definition of submission?
My definition of submission is allowing my husband to lead my household, to be the head of my household. And I could go into depth about that, but that generally is my definition. What's your definition?
My definition?
Yeah.
I think my definition is a willingness to serve my wife, a willingness to serve my spouse.
Okay, so you think men can also submit?
Oh yeah, I think men have to.
But nobody talks about that, so that's interesting.
I mean, they should. I mean, if you are a man and you can't submit to your wife, she's gonna notice that eventually, and she's gonna shut down and stop submitting to you. So, and to be honest with you, in my opinion, I believe a woman needs to see submission in the man first before she can fully submit to him, because women need security. So, if you can't show your wife up front that you can submit to her and, you know, be willing to serve her, be there for her needs and actually care about her needs, that's really all submission is. You know, it's not about you giving everything your spouse wants, you know, just being a servant all the time. And, you know, like, I think people hear submission and think that it's like having a chain around your neck, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like you just got to do everything they tell you to do.
It's just being willing to serve, right? Yeah. Being willing to lay down. You know, sometimes you may not be feeling like serving, or you may not feel like serving your spouse, but being willing in those moments to just lay down your desires and what you want to do for your spouse, that's submission. And if you don't have that, I mean that's something you should probably think about. Like, am I willing to, you know, be there for my spouse, and care for her needs? That's my definition, at least.
Yeah. So for me, like, I guess the same thing, but for me, I think of it more as like allowing you to be the leader of our home. Yeah. Because I believe the man is the head of the household. But the only thing for me, I don't think I had that big of an issue submitting to him when we got engaged and when we're married. First, you submit to your husband. So as far as submitting to a boyfriend, that's kind of like, unless y'all are like engaged or y'all are on that path, that's kind of like a gray area for me, because I don't know if I really agree with, you know.
Well, you don't really understand like true submission until you get married anyway.
Yeah, so like how can you submit to a boyfriend?
Yeah, I think there should be,
or a girl.
I mean, in that case, like boyfriend and girlfriend, I think you gotta examine like, okay, what level of submission do I expect right now from a boyfriend? You're not gonna get the same level of submission from a boyfriend that you're gonna get from a husband.
Right.
It's a different level of commitment.
It's different.
I mean, it's just completely different. So, what do you, and what does your boyfriend expect from you, right? So y'all can get to that point of getting married, right? Because obviously there are some things that you want to see before you say yes, or before he asks you, right? There's some things that you both want to see. So maybe, I don't know. I mean, I think those conversations probably can be had before being married, right? She probably should be.
Probably should be having them, yeah.
Especially this day and time, probably should be had before. Getting into a marriage.
So I think what I was saying is I think that I didn't have that big of an issue submitting to him, just because I knew that he could lead me. Like, I was confident in him being led first by the Lord, and I knew that he was seeking the Lord for us, for our family, for our future, kids, our future family. When we were dating, so when we got married, I didn't have an issue submitting to him because I saw that he was worthy of being, worthy of me being submitted to him, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I feel like it's easier to submit if you have a man that's first actually seeking the Lord on the direction for your family and the plan and the purpose for your family. And if you see that they're actually doing what they need to do to lead you, it's easier to submit. So I'm confident in his decision making for our family. Right. And then I don't know if you've ever heard this, but some people say like the man is the head, but the woman is like the neck. So like you can't move without me.
Right.
I agree with that because even when it comes to decisions, like yes, I allow him to have the final say so and make the decisions. I'm confident in his decision making, but I still gotta say so. Okay, and if I feel like your decision is kind of not leading us in the right direction, I'm gonna let you know.
For sure. Yeah.
So that's still me submitting, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to really give your submission to someone that hasn't earned it.
Right.
I mean, I think that's what you're describing.
Yeah, that's what I'm describing.
I mean, especially as a man, like you have to earn a woman's trust and a woman's will. Like, if you earn it, I feel like if you earn it, a woman will. I mean, she'll give her life for you.
Right.
Especially if you're showing that you care about what she cares about. So you gotta earn it.
Yeah. Do you all want more kids?
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, we used to say we have one. We have a girl. She's about to turn 2. We used to say that we wanted 3 kids, and then after we had the first one, we was like 2 sounding good. Like 2 is sounding smooth.
2 might be enough.
And so we might have 1 more, and it might be a wrap. We'll see, but
we'll see what happens.
2 is sounding real good.
Yeah, but we do want kids. Another one.
Yeah.
For sure, right now.
Yeah, at least 1 more.
Yeah.
So that'll lead us into this question. It said, how did you balance your relationship once you had a newborn?
Tell your perspective on how that
went. Yeah. Our story is kind of different because, so as we said before, he was in the military. He's out now. But he was in the military and he got deployed when our daughter was 2 months old. So shortly after we had the baby, he got sent off for what? 7 months?
7, 8 months.
Yeah, so he left when she was 2 months. Yeah, so like 7 months. And he came back when she was like 9 months. So he kind of missed that whole, we did like the first newborn up to 2 months together, but after that he kind of missed that whole season. It was kind of hard, I guess, in the beginning because of in the first few weeks with the lack of sleep, pretty much the lack of sleep.
Still working.
Yeah, still working because he was still going to work. I actually went back to work at 6 weeks, which was closer to the time that he left. But when you just have that lack of sleep, it's kind of all about the baby. And then I felt like during that time we were kind of delusional, so we would argue about something and then realize after that it was something so petty, but it was just the lack of sleep and we were just delusional. It was just a lot of new. So balancing our relationship in the beginning, it's like you kind of have to focus on the baby, like the first couple weeks. Right. And then after that, we just took advantage because we don't live by family. We don't live in, our family's in Georgia and we live in North Carolina. So it's hard for us, and we're still kind of going through this now. It's hard for us because we don't have like a village really. Like we don't have babysitters always available. So anytime like my mom would come, or whenever we would have babysitters, our family would come, we would take advantage of that time. We did a couple times before you left, before you got deployed. We would go out for dates. So allowing your village to help you so you get that time with your spouse. And then we didn't, because before kids, we did like weekly, I think it was weekly, a few times a month, date nights.
Oh yeah.
So we continued that, but we had to start getting creative and do date nights in the house, like after bedtime. So once you put the baby down, even if you're tired, and we still go through this, we'll be dead tired, but if you commit to that date night, then you better stay up.
Yeah.
Stay up, because you need that time with your spouse. You need that time to connect, because it'll be so easy to just get lost in being a parent and forget that, oh, I'm a wife too, like I'm a husband too.
Right. Yeah.
So we get creative. We do date nights in the house, movie nights, we game nights, all after bedtime.
Yeah. It was I think for me, it was interesting watching, like after you had Kingsley, it was interesting seeing how your focus literally went to baby and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I had heard like that was, that happens, like, you kick in the mom mode as soon as you have a baby, but actually seeing it, I had to realize like, okay, like obviously my child is my priority too, but it's different for a mom. And I didn't realize how much it's different. Like it's completely different for a mom, right? So that took some adjusting for me on my end, because I kind of felt guilty at times, because sometimes I felt like, I didn't care for the baby as much as she did, but I couldn't. Like there's no way I could care more for my child more than my wife did. But like sometimes we'll run into a situation and I'll just be like, oh, she's fine, she's okay. She'll be like, no, she's not. No, we need to do this. And I was like, I think she's good. So we had to kind of navigate through that, and I had to, because sometimes, that can be frustrating for me. But I had to like, okay, she is in like full-fledged mom mode, so I'm gonna just support her in this mom mode. So that was just something I noticed in that time period.
Yeah, just gotta push through it, and it gets better. Like now, during nap times, we'll watch movies together, or like I said, after bedtime.
Yeah.
We'll just do like an in-house date night or whatever.
Yeah. You just gotta find your own rhythm. You gotta find what works for your relationship, and both of y'all have to be willing to work and navigate, right? I think that's the biggest thing, willingness to navigate, right? And don't just shut down and say no, baby first and that's it, right?
Yeah.
And you gotta both be willing to navigate and want to care for each other. So
yeah, you learn as you go.
Yeah.
It's all a learning process. Best marriage advice. What's your best marriage advice?
Ooh,
it's a lot. I feel like it can be a lot.
I think the best marriage advice that I could give is like, lay down your, expectations of what you think marriage is gonna be like.
That's good.
Before you get married. It's not gonna be what you just, nothing really can prepare you for marriage. Mm-hmm. Just like nothing can prepare you for having a child. Like nothing could prepare us for that.
No
right?
book, nothing.
Nothing. Like no matter how many classes we went to, no matter, because before we got married, we got a lot of advice from friends and family, church leadership, a lot of advice. But regardless, like all of that advice, like we still had to learn how to be married to one another. Mm-hmm. Like there's nothing that's going to prepare you for that. So don't pressure your spouse. I wouldn't pressure, my wife into being something that I think she should be, right? You kind of just gotta roll with the punches, so to speak, and don't have this image of marriage before you go into marriage. Just let your marriage, bloom into what it is.
Yeah.
Into what it becomes. It's gonna change over time anyway. So there's no set expectation of how marriage should be, and if you do have that, then you might want to get ready for that to change, because it's gonna change. It's going to change for sure.
Yeah, I think my best marriage advice is just when you go into marriage, be willing to work through conflict. Like, don't give up at any side of trouble.
Yeah.
Because trouble's gonna come. And that's not always like cheating, stuff like that, but just natural like life issues. You're gonna go through life together. So there are gonna be things that come up. You just have to be willing to work through them. Like, don't give up at the first sign of, oh, this is getting a little rough. I don't know if I want to do this. You have to work through it. Marriage is work. Most people, they see the wedding and the engagement pictures and planning the bachelorette parties. It's all fun. After that wedding, it's like, okay, this is where the real work starts.
Yeah.
Then it gets real, because it's like there's no cameras, there's no people around. It's just you and your spouse. So you just have to be willing to work through whatever might come your way. And then, like I said before, as cliche as it sounds, communication. You gotta be willing to talk. I really believe that you can get through anything if you talk.
Yeah.
If you just communicate through it. It might be rough. It's probably gonna be hard. And like for me, it was hard because I'm naturally not a talker. I don't just talk about my feelings all the time. I kind of just shut down. I keep them to myself. So I've had to learn, and still learning after almost 4 years, how to just talk.
Yeah.
Just open up and just say what you mean, say what you feel. Get it out in the open, both sides. So it's communication, working through conflict, letting go of whatever expectations you may have. I do think if you are engaged, or you see that your relationship is heading towards engagement, so we knew when we were dating, like on the closer to when we were about to get engaged, there were conversations that we had then about like finances, how much debt you have, because I have student loans, so like how much debt you have, like talk about things, so then the basics you won't be blindsided by when you do get married.
Right.
There should be discussions before you get married about certain topics.
Right.
And even though some of your perspectives may change, at least you get some type of base for how that person thinks.
Yeah.
Kids, finances, what else?
Everything. I think people get that, especially our generation, the younger generation, we get it confused and think that we have to live with the person before marrying them for us to really see who they are. But if you have those discussions up front, you'll know. You'll find out who the person is you're with. It's communication. It's not necessarily having to live with somebody before you get married. I don't necessarily believe that. I believe if you communicate, right, and talk through things before you get married, you'll have a good understanding of what you're getting into. And then, I think you won't be caught off guard when you do end up getting married. And then you'll be able to tell your spouse, wait a minute, this is what we talked about. Remember you said this?
Yeah.
What's going on? So you're changing up on me now. So you can kind of hold your spouse accountable if you communicate before you get married.
Yeah. And just on that, we didn't even live together at all before we got married.
Yeah.
And I know some people do have horror stories, moving in with somebody, especially before marriage. That's everybody's, whatever works for you. But for us, it wasn't an issue. It wasn't an issue on my end when we moved in together. But like you said, I guess it's just the conversations that we had.
Do you think that when people move in before they get married, they kind of, especially when they move in with the intentions of finding out if they want to be together, do you think that that's kind of just leaves the door open?
I think, and this is just my perspective, this is just my opinion. When you move in with somebody before you are married, when it's just like a boyfriend, girlfriend, and problems are gonna come, conflict is gonna come, it's easy for you to leave.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why it doesn't work out a lot of the times. When you're married and you're living with that person, it's a bigger commitment. So it's like, okay, I just can't leave because you throwing clothes on the floor, or that's small, but whatever the issues are, you have to work through it because it's a bigger commitment. Yeah. It's a little bit more work to go and get divorced.
Oh yeah.
When you boyfriend and girlfriend, you can pack up your stuff, take your keys, and be gone, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's why it doesn't work a lot of the times, and that's why, in my opinion, you should just wait.
Yeah.
You should just wait.
I agree. It worked for us.
It worked for us.
The best marriage advice: pray, 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 and pray some more.
Yeah, and keep God at the center of your home. A lot of people say that, but that takes work too. It takes work to really keep the Lord in your relationship. I feel like that helps too.
Yeah, for sure.
Because a lot of the times, like even getting through conflict, like I feel like having that relationship with the Lord, it makes you want to serve your spouse. It makes you want to get things right and to honor Him in your relationship.
Yeah, I mean that has literally got us through the hardest times that we've ever experienced. Keeping God at the center, because once we discovered, why we were together and our purpose, once God revealed to us what our mission is, and that we can only do that together, me and her, that kind of just opened up a whole new world. Like once you're married, you gotta understand, like your marriage is not, you're not together just because y'all decided to be together.
Right.
There's a purpose behind your marriage.
There's single marriage.
There's a mission behind your marriage. There's something that God wants your marriage to accomplish, not just you individually, both of y'all as a couple.
Not just be in love
right.
and have kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other mindset, around marriage. So, and you can only reach that point if you keep God at the center. If you keep God at the center, and that's not easy at all. Like that's not easy.
Especially not in this day and time.
Yeah, that's not easy.
Yeah.
And it requires work. But it's worth it. It's 100% worth it, and it's rewarding. And I wouldn't choose any other way.
Yeah, and I think for us, that's why we work so well together. Because yes, he is my husband, he's my friend, but he's like my purpose partner. Like there are lives depending on us to get it right. Like we are gonna impact lives together. So when you think of it like that, like okay, we're in this thing together. We're purpose partners. We got a mission to accomplish. It kind of gives you that mindset, like okay, we gonna run this thing. We gonna run this race together. Yeah. No matter what may come, we gonna figure it out because it's us against everything else. It's not us against each other.
Right.
That's how I kind of think about it. Yeah. And one more thing is just remember when you have kids, your kids are going to leave your house one day. So make sure that you stay connected to your spouse because I think I mentioned this earlier, but it is so easy to just focus on the kids and just neglect your marriage, neglect your relationship.
Yeah. And you will fall out of love if you let it happen. You will fall out of love because you'll get to a point where you haven't spent quality time with your spouse.
It'll just be paying bills, taking care of the kids, going to work, just the routine.
Yeah.
But you gotta get out of that sometimes and just connect and remember why you got married.
Right.
You always gotta remind yourself of that. But yeah. I think that's all we have for you guys. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Jasmine. If I didn't already say that, I know you did. Yeah. For those of you who may be watching who don't really know who we are. And then on this channel, you can expect marriage content, lifestyle, motherhood, being a stay-at-home mom. I am a stay-at-home mom for about, a year and a half now?
Yeah. So,
yeah, that's what you can kind of expect. And I hope you guys come back and enjoy more videos on my channel. And, yeah, until next time.
All right, see you later.